Hello, everybody. I'm going to walk you through the basics of Microsoft Power Apps and how you can build your first app, some data that you can get you started, how you can connect to SharePoint and even Dataverse, and we're going to build our first application together. So I'm also going to teach you tabs in here as well, which will have a little bit of the variables. So if that is confusing to you right now, don't worry. I'll get it set up for you so that at the end of this video, it all makes sense. So stay tuned. Okay, so here on the home screen of Power Apps, and how I got here was I went to office.com, went to explore all apps, and then here under all apps is an application called Power Apps. I'm going to choose to create an application. That's the first thing that we're going to do. And there's multiple different applications that or ways to build your first application. You can use templates. I'm just going to simply click create, and then we're going to do a blank application, but just to start off the bat, you could go to Dataverse, SharePoint, Excel, SQL, any of your data sources. There's also templates down here. I don't really like to start with templates. They usually have a lot of FX, which is like type of low code in them that is not ideal for customizing. So I don't really like to start with those. So we're just going to start simple, and we're going to do create a blank app. Now, your first decision that you have to make. Oh man. Okay, so I'll tell you real briefly the difference between these three. Canvas app is generally where you want to start. These are applications that are easily customizable. They are going to be used on your tablet or your mobile device. Then there is model-driven apps. This is also Dynamics. So your CRMs, your desktop applications, they're built on Dataverse, which is where Dynamics 365, the CRM for Microsoft, is built as well. So these are going to be your more powerful applications. There is this new thing called Power Pages. It used to be called Portals, and it was called Websites, and they keep rebranding it. Now it's called Power Pages Website, which is relatively new. It's been out for maybe 2 or 3 years in terms of the Power Platform. It's low code, no code. They've redone it again recently, and it's getting really good. It's totally different. We're not going to go over that in this video. We're going to stick with Canvas apps. So we'll go ahead and hit create. Now it's going to say, what do you want to name your application? We're just going to call this test application, but you can call it whatever you want. I will say that you should have a standard naming convention here, because that's going to help you out as you go along the way. It doesn't really matter which format you choose, tablet or phone, as you can change it when you get into the actual application. I like to start with tablet. Okay, once your environment loads up, you'll get this Welcome to Power Apps Studio message. You can choose from a form or a gallery, however you'd like to start your application. I generally like to hit skip, and I'll choose a home screen, and we'll go over that together now. Okay, like I said, I don't like to start with a form or a data. I like to start a home screen. I like my applications to actually look like applications. So the first thing generally that I add is a picture. So up here we have all of our controls. We can change the background color to navy if we want. We can create a theme. We can do a steel theme. That seems good. We can add new screens, which we'll get into here in a second. We could add a background image if we wanted to. I'm going to go insert right here. This is where we have all of our different functions, all of our different elements that we can add here. I like to do images first. And now you notice you can't see it, but I can just simply type in image, and then it pops up. So anything that you want to look for in here, you can click through in here and display. You can look for inputs. You can look for media. You can look for all kinds of different things in here, or you can just simply search. And I'm going to choose image. Now you'll notice it just loads in this demo image. You can click and drag it to be however big you want. And then in order to change it, there's this properties pane that has this flyout. Now notice this right side over here. If I click away from it, it completely changes now to just the screen, where if I were to change the background color of the screen to purple, then it changed to purple. I'm going to change it back to navy though. I like that. All right, so if I want to change this image, I simply click on the image. And then over here, we see this image, this first area right here. We can change this to none. is what it's currently at, and we can do add an image file. Now the image file is going to bring up your window pane. I'm going to choose an image that I have in my documents, and then here it is. Now you'll notice that when I change the size of the area, the image goes to meet the area. So to get around that, maybe you only wanted it here so you can add buttons. You can change how it fits in the image position. You can choose center, fill, fit, which is what it was by default. You could do stretch. Now it's always going to stretch to fit whatever we're at. And then we can do tile, which is a relatively large image, so it's not going to tile, but you can do that as well. I'm going to do fill, and I'm going to leave it just like that. I think that actually looks pretty nice. Now, in order for it to actually look like an application, you'd need some buttons. So that's what I like to add next. So we'll do button. And I'm just going to add where I'd want my buttons to look, or how I want them to look and where I'd want them to be. All I did was Control C, Control V. So now I have 3 different buttons that all match. Maybe that's a little too dark. I can shift, click all of them, and then just like we had before was for the background, I got this color swatch down here where I can choose the actual color of the button that I want. I like that. That looks, how about that? That looks pretty good. Now, if I wanted to change the text on the button away from white, I can use the color swatch as the text right here. Choose blue. I kind of liked the white though. We'll leave it white. I can change the border. So I could say, the border's 200, which obviously that's going to look obnoxious. I just wanted to show you what we're doing with the border. I could change the border color, which brings it up here as a color fade. But if you wanted to, you could just type it in. You could say blue, color.blue. And then now we have that border. So if we want to do 10, we could change it to a dashed border. I think all of this looks terrible, so I'm just going to say none. So there, now I have buttons. Now, this is how I like to start. I like to get the home page first because I like to build an application with the user in mind. Now you're saying, okay, my home screen is done, so now I'm ready to build the next screen where my data is going to be. So I'll go ahead and hit new screen right here. I like to do a blank, but there's also templates. So you could do list, tutorial, success screen, scrollable. So I'll do a list. And now we have the app name up here. We have a default gallery. Notice that it's not connected to any data. We have the title, which says app name. We can change that to test app. We have to keep it inside the quotation marks though, because that means that it's text. Notice if I delete the quotation, it gives me an error. So I need to keep it wrapped. Okay, now I need to connect this to data. But when I go to do this, notice I don't have any data. So if I click on it, it says data source none, and I don't have any what's called connectors. So what I need to do there to connect data is we'll come over to this left side and we'll find this cylinder. It's going to show me what data that I do have since I don't have any. So we're going to click add data. I'm going to type in SharePoint. Once I click on SharePoint, it's going to say, do I want to connect to on-prem or cloud? I'm going to say cloud, that's for the SharePoint 365. Now it's going to give me SharePoint sites that I've recently been to. I'm just going to let's use remote living. This is a demo environment, so I'm not entirely certain as to what's here, but let's click around. There we go. Here we go, account, retail accounts. How about that? Okay, now that I have my data added, I need to connect it to the gallery, which is this list. Notice when I click on it, it's going to give me a list of retail or of lists that are already connected. So I can click retail accounts. Now that I've hooked it up, it's going to give me a little bit of data here. Maybe this is not exactly what I was looking for, so I can change the layout over here. So under layout, it says image, title, subtitle. I can change that to maybe title, subtitle, and body. Since I don't have an image, there we go. And then if I wanted to say, you know, these are still not exactly what I want, I can go to fields and hit edit. We have store name, postal code, and title is what it looks like. So maybe for title, subtitle, maybe I don't want the postal code. Maybe I want the name. I don't know. What else do we want in here? How about the country and region? There we go, US. And then over here, what can we use? I liked it where it was. And then here in the title, maybe we can do that as, actually, let's make this the store title, store name. It makes sense. And for this one, which is the body, we can do this as the postal code. City is fine. Okay, so maybe we wanted to add the zip code though. Notice I can change the size of that. And what I can do is I can click on it, hit copy, paste. Also, any of the changes that I want to make to all of them, I have to do in the first cell. So I copy and pasted that. Up here, it says location city. I can just simply type in zip. Or maybe it was called postal code. Yep, there it is, postal code. And now I have the postal code. So maybe you didn't know what that is. So what you could do up here is you could add quotes because we're going to add text. And we could say postal code, close it, and then you're going to have to do an ampersand, just a little and sign. And that is how you can add in a little text before it. There we go. So now it says the name and our postal code. Cool. So if we were to play, that's up here. We hit this little play button. This is what our app would look like right now. Not bad, huh? What another thing that I like to add here is we're going to insert an icon because we want a way to get back home. Honestly, you can choose any icon. It doesn't matter because when you're inserting an icon, you can't like search. I guess you could search that way, but I just like to add any icon and then use this search. So I will do a home and add it there. We'll change it to white, which will change the outline of the house. There it is. We'll make the background, let's change it to like an off blue. That looks nice. And now maybe that house icon is too close, so that's where we get into the padding. And we'll add, how about that? But we want that button to do something, right? So right here, notice it says on select. When I selected it, it says on select. If you don't see that, it'll be here in the drop down. And what on select will do is it'll say, what do you want to do when this is selected? And we want to say navigate, screen 1. And if I hit a comma, notice now it's asking for a transition, just like in Excel. So we could say cover and then close it out. And now when I click this, it's going to bring it back home. So now here we could say, what was it called? Retail accounts. So we could say here and then do this on select the same way, navigate, screen 2, whoops. And now when we play from our app, we have our retail accounts and we can go home. So that's how we would build a basic application. You could do a form as well. So maybe we want to do a new, so we'll go up here, new screen, templates. We'll do a form. Oh, there's no template for a form. That's okay. We'll do blank. And we'll insert a form, an edit form. We'll go like this. Connect to the data. Data source retail account. Here we go. We could change some of the fields if we wanted to. We can edit what fields are here. We can edit maybe we want the store name to be first. So now we can click store manager next, sales target. This is all fine. Maybe we want to change it to 2. Maybe that looks a little better. Location, we can it looks like these are locked, so we might as well just get rid of them. I just like to select and delete. You could also do it over here though by selecting the whole form and doing edit fields and then removing the field. There you go. Works the same way. Now there was that branding here at the top. Notice it's not there. So what I like to do is I'll select that, and I will take all of those. I just hit Control C. I'll bring in, click on the screen 3, Control V, and now since I brought this over, it'll go home. Now we can do this. Add retail account. And then we'll do this. Do you remember what we do? On select, all right? All right, navigate, right? Screen 3. Transition, cover, close it out, hit play, add retail account. Now we have our form. But I know what you're saying. You're saying my form is not here, right? You're right. That's because it's an edit form right now. So if we were to do this and we were to say default mode edit and change it to new, now we should see our form, and we do. So when it's an edit form, it's looking for an item to edit. A new form is, looking for a new form. Now what you're thinking is, how do I submit the form? That's a great question. So what we could do is we can move the form up a little bit like this, because maybe we want to add some buttons down here. So we'll insert a button. It's going to give us our default branding. Cool. We can call this button submit. And then we can do on select, we do submit form. And it's going to say, what form do you want to submit? We're going to say form 1, which is this form. Now, I only have one form. If I didn't know what form that I wanted, I can select this form, and then it'll tell me right here. It's called form 1. So submit form 1. And then maybe you're like, you know what? I want it to go to a success screen after that, or I want it to go back to screen 2. So let's do both of those scenarios. So let's say here is the success screen, and then we can add a button, and we could say view retail accounts. On select, navigate, that's right, to screen 2. Hit play. Boop, there we go. We can go home as well. Add a retail account, here it is. We can say store name. This is a test, account manager. Just hit submit. It does scroll, notice that. So if there were more fields, I can just hit submit. Title is required. Okay, so what we want to do, okay, thank you. So we need to make sure that the title field is here. So edit fields, add a field, title, add in that title field. Maybe we move it up here to the top. And now what you're thinking, you're like, well, title, that doesn't really apply to my data here. So what you could do is you could say, this right here is locked. So what we could, for the form, we could say unlock. And instead of parent display name, we could say unique title name. And then we have that there. And then we could lock this, right? So we could do this field. It says parent default. We could just do this. We could do user. All right, so what I just did up here, let me explain this, is I put in you can use the user command to pull any of my current information. Well, not anything, but you get full name, email address. If you wanted more, you'd have to add a connector to your Office 365, but user does a pretty good job. So we have full name, I did the and a space, and then today, so it pulls to date. Now, right now, I can go in, I could edit this, which is not a good thing. I don't want people to be able to edit that. So I'm going to leave and come back. Let's go add a retail account. Okay, now it still has all my information, right? One thing at a time here, Roy, but it does still have all my information. If I wanted to, let's make this mode right here, display mode. It's pulling the parent, so I can go view, oops, display mode dot view. And now you can't edit this, you can just look at it. Now I know what you're saying is when I clicked away and I went back, all my other data's here. That's not good. You're right. So on screen 3, we'll do on visible. So the on visible command, the way that this works is when you get to this screen, when this screen has been visible, you can set parameters here. You can say, and so what we're going to do is we're just going to say, make sure that we have a new form for form 1 every time we get to this screen. So now when we go home, add retail account, reset form. Sorry, reset form. There we go. And now notice I can't click on this to edit it. It's just there. Now, if you wanted it to look different than view, you could do disabled is the one that's going to look grayed out. That'll show that people can't change it. So we can just do that. So now we'll do store name, test store, submit. And there it goes. It submitted it. Now, I know what you're saying. It's like, why didn't it go to the success form, right? Well, we have the success screen. Why didn't it work? Well, on this button, we have to tell it to do that. So here, if you want to put multiple functions together, you have to use the semicolon. So now we can say navigate. Screen 4, I think, is success. And then now we can hit play. It's Modern Administrator, store name, submit, and it was. So we have our gallery and we have our form works. So let's say here, because I told you I would teach you how to do a tabbed view as well, is we're going to do this and we're going to resize this gallery like so. And then I'm going to insert a button and then we'll do like that. And then another one here. And so now what we'll do is we'll make these buttons not round. So over here, border radius, we can set that to 0. That's going to give it a tabbed look. We can change the border color to maybe a white, a floral white. Hey, that looks kind of good, huh? And then for this button, we'll call it View All. And maybe this one is My Retail. Okay. And so for this, what I like to do on select, when we click it, I'm going to do set, because that's going to set a variable. And we're going to call this variable, because that's the first thing it's asking for, variable, meaning what's the name of the variable. And we're going to call it tab view. And then we're going to hit comma. Now it's saying, what do you want to set that variable valuable as? I'm going to say all. And we're going to close it. And then here, we're going to do my retail. And we're going to take this same thing. I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to go over here on select. I'm going to paste it in here. And I'm going to change it from all to mine. Okay. Now on this, I'm going to set a visible. Is visible. Oh, visible. Visible. This says true. So we're going to do an if statement. An if statement is a conditional. So we're going to say if. The logical test here is tab view. That's the name of a variable. Equals all. True. False. And so this true false says If tab view equals all, we can see it. If not, we hide it, and we're going to hit close. And then now if we were to do this, we see it. We do that, we can't. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy this gallery. I'm going to paste the gallery. And now in the new gallery, I'm going to do visible. Instead of doing all, I'm going to say mine. So now we're going to do view all, retail. Now you couldn't really tell, but you can see it bumping a little bit, but there is two different galleries here. Now what you're saying is, well, these are exactly the same, and you'd be right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to, I need to go to the actual data, which is here under items, and notice it's just pulling all of it, just pulling my whole data set. So what we want to do is we want to do filter, okay? And now it's saying filter what? For filtering our source, which is this retail accounts. And now we're going to add the logical test, adding a comma. And we'll say, you could do account manager equals me, but I'm just going to do created by equals user full name. And we'll see if that works. Created by dot display name. There we go. And then in order to check that, we could do like this. Copy and paste Seattle, move Seattle over here, right? And we can do this item created by, right? Dot display name. The reason why we have to do that dot is because created by has multiple different pieces of data that it could be. So you could say dot, meaning like what's the subcomponent of that. We could say department, claims, email, picture, whatever, right? So we'll say display name. And then if we wanted to add that, we can say created by, right? Boop. There we have it. And now we can do this. I can view all, view my retail. Now it's the same pieces of data because they are apparently all created by my account, but we can tell that it's two different sets here. It looks like we could also do, you know what, we could do like this. And now when I set as USA, Canada. And then for this new one, I'll do filter. Is it country? Is that what it's called? Equals text, so it's US. There we go. And we want to say visible US. Okay, so now we go my retail, view all, US. There we go. It was USA, not US. There you go, because the variable is USA. So yeah, that is how you build an application here in PowerApps. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, well, how do I save it and publish it? When you're ready, up here in the corner, there's this little publish. You click that. It's going to save your application and publish it. And then you can publish it. You can provide a description. We can say test application for YouTube and hit publish. And now your application's live. You can share it out with members right here. Now you can share it out, give them a little email message, upload a file or whatever it is that you want to do. You can add people. Let's see who we got here. There's always like an Ashley, I feel like. Oh, there's no Ashley, huh? What do we got here? Wow. All right. I'll just do everyone. How about that? There we go. And I can choose whether they're going to user or full control. We can't use as a full control since it's everybody. It is saying that we're going to share out retail accounts with them, and then we would hit share, and then that's how you would be able to share it out. And our application is now live, and people can use it and as they need. So thanks for hanging out, guys. Hopefully you got a lot out of this. If you have any questions, you can go to capitalpresence.com, fill out a contact form. We'll be happy to walk you through it. If you want more information and you want to further your skills, you can go to powerplatformhelp.com or online365.academy and enroll in some of our courses that'll deep dive into how to build Power Platform and Power Apps. Thanks for hanging out. Until next time, see you.